In the previous presentation, we have seen that God is the best explanation of the origin of the universe, and that He is the best explanation of the complex order in the universe. Today, we are going to see that God is the best explanation of objective moral values and truths. Every time you hear about an injustice, you get upset. Why? Where does this come from? Everyone, regardless of their culture, has an understanding of right and wrong. But the question is, where do these objective moral truths that exist in each of us come from? C.S. Lewis, an Oxford professor and philosopher, was a skeptical atheist most of his life. He says that he began to believe in God because of the existence of morality. Children constantly appeal to an unspoken objective standard of fair and that we should follow rules. They say, "It's my turn," or "You had it last time." But who told them about these rules? And no one, nor did anyone have to. This is built within them. We know it's wrong to hate someone because of their race, or to murder innocent women and children. But why? Because there is an absolute right and wrong in the universe. Skeptics insist that morality is relative. What is true for you might not be true for me, they say. This leads to a big problem, because if somebody believes that racism is right, you cannot say they are wrong. If somebody believes that it's okay to kill the Jews, you cannot say they are wrong. If somebody believes slavery is okay, you cannot say they are wrong. If somebody believes that pedophilia is okay, you cannot say they are wrong. If somebody believes, you cannot say it's wrong, since the morality is relative. The very fact that something within us is repelled by racism, sexism, and unequal treatment of the poor and disabled begs the question that such convictions would have to come from somewhere, for they are not natural to us. Without God, our notions of right and wrong would be meaningless. Everything would be acceptable because there would be no real objective rules to break. But since moral truths do exist, it follows that a source for objective morality must exist. This doesn't mean that people cannot act morally if they don't believe in God. The reason we can have an objective standard of right and wrong is because God exists as the standard itself. Objective moral values are something that are true whether we believe in them or not. It's universally true. Opposite to the objective morality is subjective morality, where what you believe is only subjective and is not applicable to the other people. We should notice that being objective doesn't require for moral truths to be universally accepted. For example, it is objectively true that the earth is a sphere, even though some people believe it's flat. Some argue that moral truths cannot be proved objectively since we cannot prove them with our senses. If a terrible incident, like stabbing, would happen in front of our eye, we would be more inclined to doubt our sense of reality than our sense of morality. Some deny that objective moral truths exist. They say that right and wrong may appear to be real, but those are simply our own opinions that we project onto reality. Some people deny that our world exists. They say that it is just an illusion, like in the Matrix film. However, we wouldn't accept this explanation without demanding proof. Likewise, the skeptic should give us a good reason to believe there are no objective moral truths. Some believe that because cultures disagree about morality, examples as female genital mutilation or eating cows, this proves there is no objective morality. Many so-called moral disagreements are disagreements about facts. The issue, for example, of abortion is not because some think it is wrong to kill people while others think it is okay. The disagreement is over the scientific and philosophical facts that show whether an unborn child is a person who has a right to live. The disagreements in history or science doesn't mean that there are no objective truths in history or science. We have seen that the objective moral truths do exist. So the next question is, what is their source? Where do they come from? The moral argument for the existence of God goes like 1. Objective moral truths exist. True, the objective moral truths have either a natural or a supernatural origin. 3. Natural origins cannot explain objective moral truths. 4. Therefore, objective moral truths have a supernatural origin. Are the moral truths a result of the evolution? The evolutionists claim that as our species evolved, human beings who acted in moral way, such as those who cooperated and didn't kill or steal, lived longer than those who didn't. As a result, we now have an instinct to be moral that has developed over millions of years. Evolution may be able to explain why we act in certain ways, but it doesn't explain why we should act in those ways. For example, we all recognize that it's wrong to go into a school with a gun and shoot the little children. On an evolutionistic view, however, there is nothing really wrong with that. It's just not advisable. In his book, River Out of Eden, renowned evolutionist Richard Dawkins explains, there is at bottom no design, no purpose, and listen this, no evil and no good, nothing but blind, pitiless indifference. Did you notice? There is no evil according to him and no good. However, actions like rape, cruelty, racial hatred, and child abuse aren't just a socially unacceptable behavior. They are truly evil. Why do honest atheists admit that without God, objective moral values cannot exist? Because if there is such a thing as evil, you must assume there is such a thing as good. If you assume there is such a thing as good, you assume there is a such thing as an absolute and unchanging moral law on the basis of which to differentiate between good and evil. If you assume there is such a thing as an absolute moral law, you must have an absolute moral lawgiver, which would be God. Morality cannot be an instinct. So evolution cannot explain why there are objective moral truths. Can an individual be a source of the objective moral truths? If morality comes from the individual, then we have no right to say that one is wrong and the other is right. So the objective moral truths have to come outside of an individual. Could the culture be the source of the objective moral truths? We can say that it doesn't matter what the father thinks. The culture has right to say that abusing his daughter is wrong. If the culture is the source of the objective moral truth, then we cannot say to other cultures what is right and what is wrong. In some parts of the world, marital rape is illegal, whereas in other parts of the world it is legal. Would you change your judgment from wrong to right when you learn that a case of marital rape had happened in another culture? I hope not. Rape is always wrong, no matter what the culture says. So morality is not dependent upon the culture. We have seen that moral truths cannot come as the result of evolution. Neither it can come from individuals nor the cultures. Therefore, there must be something else that is the source for the objective moral truths. God is the only one who is above us and our culture, and He is capable to set the standard of what is right and what is wrong. If God doesn't exist, objective moral values cannot exist. However, objective moral values do exist, so God exists. Since God is the best explanation of the origin of the universe, and He is the best explanation of the complex order in the universe, and He is the best explanation of objective moral values, God exists. The first two arguments reveal to us that God is eternal and all-powerful, and the third argument reveals to us that God is not some impersonal force, but He is loving, forgiving, and absolutely good God.